Well, welcome back to the Hartberghalle here in Bonn, Germany. And it's time for the medal matches here at the first men's foil World Cup of the season. Sorry for the late start on the live stream. We had some camera issues which are being resolved right now. And I'm Karen Bashir. Joining me in the commentary box, the Fencing Podcast's Sean Walton. Sean, what a tasty match we've got to start this final session.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, reigning Olympic champions in Russia, fighting off for bronze here against, well, the on paper supremely strong Italian team, but yeah, not in the final and having to battle out for bronze.
Yeah, and both teams battling out for a place in the potential Olympic qualifying spots. At the moment, Russia sit in the top 4 of the current Olympic standings, and Italy occupy the extra zonal spot. Sorry, that's the other way around, isn't it, Sean?
It is indeed, yeah.
Pulled my points back up again, and it's Italy in 4th place on 152 points, and Russia in 7th place, but the top European team outside the top 4, so currently sitting in the positions that would have them qualified if they were there come April next year. So in some respects, one can say a fairly good day for the pair of them. No other European teams, or no European teams in the final. So they can't be overtaken by other European teams. But now this is as much about Russia trying to haul in the 16-point lead that Italy have over them in that Olympic standing.
Yeah, no matter what happens in this match, they're not going to do it today, but they can close the gap. I mean, traditionally the top 4 countries have included both Italy and Russia, but Russia's form over the last, well, really since the Olympics, has been pretty up and down.
Yeah, an interesting day for the Russian team as a whole. They've brought in the youngster, Kirill Borodyshev, giving him a chance to bed himself in the team ahead of Tokyo 2020, and he's done not a bad job today. Yeah,
he's certainly held his own, and I mean, replacing Timur Arsenov, who's been the sort of fixture in the team since Rio, but looking to give young Borodyshev an outing or two, I think, to see if he can take that place and provide perhaps a bit of solidity in the team, which Arsenov on his day has been absolutely tremendous. Paris at the beginning of the year, where the Russians won, Arsenov was absolutely immense, but it doesn't happen often enough, and I think they're willing to give Borodyshev a run to see if he can do that.
And he's done a pretty good job today, that's for sure. The other man we've got to talk about is former world champion Dmitry Zerebchenko on the piste for the start for Russia. He's been on the bench for most of the day, if not all of the day, but in this match they've elected to put Alexei Cheremisinov onto the bench. Now I did see some issues with his back ankle a couple of times today. I wonder if it is an injury replacement rather than a tactical one.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, Cheremisinov's a fixture in the team, and I don't think his place is in any doubt whatsoever. Zerebchenko, the funny one, a regular squad member, part of the 4, but very rarely gets on the piste. He does a lot of carrying towels and water.
Well, he's on the piste for this medal match, so clearly they have trust in him. Olga Mamadov, the head of the men's foil program. I spoke to him earlier on today, and he was very open, actually, and very clear about what he wanted to do. He wants to have a mixture of youthful exuberance and then the experience of the likes of, like you say, Cheremisinov, Tim Safin, obviously, a stalwart in the team as well, along with Zerebchenko. And he seemed very, very calm. On a day where tensions have been high in most of the camps, there's been a sort of air of calmness about the Russian box.
I mean, you can understand why. They're going to the Olympics, I would think, almost certainly one way or another. They've had a decent day here with, with at least a 4th place. So they perhaps feel that they can afford to experiment just a little bit and look to clarify what their best lineup for Tokyo is going to be.
Now, we are, I'm afraid, throughout the entire season, hopefully we'll have the pleasure of having Sean in the box more than one occasion. But we are going to, as we get closer and closer to that qualification deadline of April, we are going to be waxing lyrical about the Olympic Games, and that's not to the detriment of these individual competitions themselves, but they have so much more meaning in the run-up to in the fourth year of the quadrennial.
Yeah, very much so. It's the subtext for the whole season is who's going to Tokyo, how are they going to get there, who's looking good on the way there.
Yes.
And yeah, it's inescapable really, and it does add an extra layer of tension to these events. And
that tension doesn't necessarily disappear once those teams are decided and the individuals are decided, because then it goes back to looking at the world rankings for ranking for the actual tournament itself, because the unique thing about the Olympic Games is it is a straight knockout competition. So your world ranking counts right at the beginning of the day, as Garozzo takes Facconi takes the Italians into a 3-1 lead, with Garozzo coming on for Italy and the youngster coming on. But yes, there's no pool stages, there's no ranking round at the Olympic Games. It's straight into the knockout.
Yeah.
So the story will continue to unfold. This is the sort of resumption, if you like, of the men's foil Olympic qualification, but it is the start of the 2019-2020 season.
So let's see what young Brodachov can provide against the reigning individual Olympic champion. I mean, he's been, I think, earmarked by the Russians as an undoubted star in the making. He's the reigning junior world champion, and making this step up now over the last couple of seasons into senior ranks, and now getting the run in the team as well.
Yeah, he's fared pretty well today as well, you have to say. He's maybe not confirmed his place on the team, but I certainly think he's confirmed his place on the team for Russia in Tokyo. I think he'll get another outing at that next World Cup, and that is the test event for the Olympic Games as well.
Yeah, indeed.
Will you be going?
Sadly,
no. No, me neither.
I'd love to. I'd love to, but no.
Well, Fencing Vision will have the delights of Graham Bell in the commentary box in Tokyo. He will be travelling out with the Fencing Vision team to bring you live coverage from both the individual and the team event, and to give you an insight and a first sight of the Olympic venue for fencing. It feels like it's just around the corner.
Yeah, well, we get a lot of action between now and then, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see what it looks like.
Well, Brodachov coming into this with a 2-point deficit has closed this down. The target score of 10 looks like it may well be reached here, as Danny Garozzo, the reigning individual Olympic champion, is on for Italy.
Yeah, Brodachov doing a good job here. Takes Russia into the lead. Yeah, Garozzo kind of setting the pace, if you like, in the fight, but Brodachov disrupting and breaking up his attacks and preparation, and starting to do a bit of pressing himself here. And another good leg already. 50 seconds into it.
Just looks so comfortable. I was talking earlier on, Sean, about the fact that Brodachov was on the piste against Alex Macialis, who's a very well-known member of the senior elite in men's foil, and he looked completely comfortable on the piste against him. And look, with the Olympic champion also, well, bossing it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, he is the real deal, and he's been in and around the Russian senior squad for a long time, since he was a cadet, really. Medalled at things like the European under-23s when he was about 14 or 15 or
That's
something.
incredible, isn't it? Is he one of these special ones that comes along once or twice in a generation, do you think?
I think it's too early to say. His individual results at senior level have been decent for such a very young fencer. Oh, Grosso taking a tumble off the piste.
Yeah, there was a talk in the Italian camp yesterday about some of the scoring equipment being a little bit too close to the piste and not enough room for the athletes to sort of fall off and not run into. But Grosso coming off the other side of the piste this time. Sorry, I interrupted you there, Sean. So you think it's too early to call? When can we start talking about a youngster like this?
Well, I mean, a couple of his peers in Nick Aitken and Tommaso Marini have medalled at senior level on at least one occasion, and Brodshev hasn't done that yet. So I think until he gets that genuinely breakthrough result, he's still promising rather than a confirmed real deal.
Well, I think he's going to be given the opportunity over the next couple of months, that's for sure. But I agree, there is a nice crop, and from different countries as well, coming through in the sort of the 2000s birthdays and even younger. We've seen a Chinese fencer here for the first time, Su, I believe his name was, and he looks like he could. Well, maybe Tokyo 2020 is a bit too soon for him, but certainly in the Paris run, he could be someone to look out for.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, there's a real exciting group of young fencers. In fact, more than one Russian. Brodachev, not the only one. His brother Anton, another one.
Of them, yeah.
Milnikov, who I think took silver at the Junior Worlds, again another very strong Russian fencer. I mean, there's a real crop of them that could come through. Maybe not in time for Tokyo, but there'll be names you'll be looking out for when Paris comes into view.
Well, that is a beauty to finish off with as well.
Yeah, good work from Brodachev. That's a tremendous leg. 9 hits.
Yeah, 9 hits to 3, and he's shown the Olympic champion that he is here to play.
A couple more familiar faces coming on for the third leg with Safin and Avila.
We like to break these fights down into chunks of 3. Tends to be for me that the teams they don't try to keep it close, but they try to make sure that they don't, if they fall behind, it's not too far by the first third, and then you start to see the story unfold in the second third. Would you agree? Yeah,
pretty much. I mean, splitting it up into thirds is a good way of looking at the match. The Italians probably looked at Brodachev as being the potential weak link,
yes,
as the newcomer, and yet here he's produced an absolutely stellar leg against Garozzo to give Russia a decent lead. And well, Safin perhaps might sense blood here. His young teammates give him a decent lead, and if he can have a strong leg here, they can put themselves in a really strong position for the rest of the match and give Italy a lot of work to do.
It's been up and down for Russia throughout the day. They've built up big leads, and only to have them taken away from them in the final third. Italy grinding out results from the matches that I've seen. Not too keen on racing away with the lead, but just getting it and just trying to eke it open, 1 or 2 hits per match.
Yeah, it didn't really work for them in the semi-final against Korea. They were a couple of hits up about halfway through, and then that was mainly as a result of a very strong second leg where Garozzo gave Song Yong-ki a bit of a thrashing. But that was actually the only leg that they won in that match. So for a team of superstars, they are kind of misfiring a bit here.
Yeah, pressure on, that's for sure. I mean, you could argue, Sean, that there's a sort of mini advantage if you happen to come from, in this particular weapon, in men's foil, if you happen to come from the Pan American zone or from the African zone. because the zonal points count towards Olympic qualification, and arguably the strength in depth really isn't in those two zones. Certainly in Asia now we're starting to see many teams being able to
absolutely. I mean, four properly strong teams in Asia with Korea, Japan, China, Hong Kong, and who have I missed?
Japan, Korea, Hong Kong, China maybe?
And China, yes. China, of course, yeah.
It's a long weekend, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. But for the African zone, Egypt are streets ahead, and they've done their job here, made it to the last 16, finished, well, I'm not sure exactly.
We haven't actually got the finishing position, but 13th or 14th, I think they probably did nick 13th against Brazil. We haven't had a confirmation of that result. But yes, like you say, their job is to stay in the top 16 in the world.
Yeah,
and they will be the top African team, and they get to go. Whereas Europe, the whole point of this sort of foray into the zonals is that Europe have got 4, 5, 6, potentially 7 teams that could finish on higher points than Egypt.
Yeah, doesn't matter. They're not going to get to go. They're not all going to get to go. And I mean, USA have they'll almost certainly, they will finish in the top 4. And
that allows then Canada, as long as there's the next best team. Brazil are there as well in contention mathematically, but you've got to fancy Canada, who have a terrible day today going out in 32.
Yeah, today's a bad day for Canada. They could have done without that loss to Belgium, I believe it was, in the 32.
Right, yeah.
So
by a single point?
Yeah, but
you'd expect them to win that one.
Probably yes. Yeah, you would.
But the point being that you're now looking at Canada and Egypt going to the Olympic Games with maybe, let's say, 3, 4 minimum European teams above them in the world rankings, and I think that grinds on certain European coaches that they've got the sort of 6th, 7th best team in the world, but the 15th team in the world is going to the Olympic Games. And then you turn your attention to the individual qualification. So there's a route that way through individual ranking, and then you look at the special zonal qualifiers later on in this season. I mean, that's tough, the European zone.
The zonal qualifiers will be an absolute bloodbath.
Yeah.
You're looking at 20 fencers scrapping it out to get there as individuals.
All with a decent chance of, or with maybe not an equal chance, but a decent chance of winning a tournament. So it's all about who has the bravery on that day. But here, technical problem has blighted this third leg as we are watching the bronze medal match at the 48th edition of this Men's Foil World Cup in Bonn, Germany. Yeah, so I'm desperately scrabbling away here as we're talking, Sean, to try and sort of get a proper full update on the results that we've had throughout the tournament, so we can work out, well, on a scrap of paper, what the net effect to the Olympic qualification standings are for the teams, because of course that's where we start for all the disciplines.
Yeah, our back of the envelope calculation was that with Korea making it through to the final later on, they will leapfrog Hong Kong into the top 4.
Yeah, Hong Kong coming in third in an automatic spot with 156 points. Korea coming in the top Asian spot with 136 points, so a 20-point gap. We've got Korea still to come later on today, but the points for first and second are 64 and 52. Now we know that Hong Kong have finished with 30 points on so they're on 186. Korea can score a minimum of 52 points. Actually, 188. 188. I think that puts them on. So it puts them 2 points ahead if they finish second.
Yeah.
Of course, they could finish first.
They could indeed. Yeah, could indeed. I mean, certainly they're. They totally blew France out of the water in the quarterfinals. Gave them a terrible thrashing. I can't remember the score, but it was not even remotely close.
29.
29, yeah. And then, let's say, a thoroughly convincing win against Italy, where they won, I think, six of the 9 legs, won 45-37 eventually. I mean, that's
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Pretty comfortable result, really. And
Up and down though. Italy weren't out of it until the sort of the 8th leg, but as soon as Korea got a sniff of the win, they just motored onto it.
Yeah, absolutely. So 2 very strong performances there. So you wouldn't totally bet against them putting one over on USA in the final.
That to come later. Here, these 2 European teams duking out. We can't really see the this one changing much at the top, other than Italy and Russia pulling away from the chasing European pack. But bragging rights important, and Russia keen to take the victory here over Italy to close the gap up to them.
Really sharp parry across there from Avila. Yeah, neither side going to be willing to gift a win to the other.
When he wants to, Safin is one of the best attackers in the world of foil, for sure, for me. You don't ever see anything too flamboyant from him, but practical, and puts himself in the position to land these sharp attacks.
Yeah, he's an interesting one. After the Olympics, where he took the bronze medal in the individual, I really did think he would push on to become one of the genuine superstars of the sport, and it hasn't really quite happened. He's had some good results, he's had some wins, but not quite as consistent as I really thought he would be, and it's a surprise. I mean, there's still time. He's still relatively...
Yeah, no, very young. In fact, the team, this Russian team, could see him in for another Olympics after Tokyo, for sure, age-wise.
Oh, easily. Yeah, easily.
And again, one of the Italians falling off the side of the piste, and Safin looks like he's taken the Russians over the line, but there will be a review here, and the matter goes over to the video. And I wonder if we're going to have our video replay system working here tonight. Oh, looks like they've already come back, and the head duck is given by our referee.
So it's a good lead for the Russians at this stage of the match, three fights into it. So Fukuni against Borodichev for the fourth leg. I thought his head from Borodichev there. Fukuni offers up his weapon for it to be tested. Nothing wrong with it. Hit stands. And having made a right mess of the reigning Olympic champions day in his first outing in this match, Borodichev may be looking to do something similar to world number one. Yeah, nice timing. Fukuni just getting into range, and Borodichev not being able to stop the attack.
So they've done it again, Sean. They put Borodyshev on for the middle 3 fights, so he gets his fights out of the way with just one. He finishes the first for the Russians.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he is in there as the third man in the team, and his job really coming into it would be to hold things. Really, that's your job as the third man. But then he's giving Garotso a thumping, holding his own here against Facconi pretty much. Yeah, doing a great job. Just exactly what Mamedov would want from him.
Yeah,
probably more.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's it's job well done for him already, whatever the outcome of this particular match. And we're likely to see him in the team. And I think it's what's particularly interesting, as we see the third Italian falling off the side of the piece, is that he's gone straight into the team. He's not sitting on the bench and
he's
being
not
a
bench
reserve.
warming. No, not in the cheering and water carrying role. He's been thrown right in there and doing pretty much everything that could be asked of him.
Yeah, great stuff to see. Young fencers coming in, being used straight away. Hats off to Ilgar Mamedov, the head of the men's foil program for the Russian Federation, who is just brave enough to say, right, get in there, go and have a go. And I think a lot of pressure is off him as well because of the mentality in the team. He's not being shouted at. He's just being talked to calmly. The rest of the team have absorbed him in as though he's been there for a couple of years, and it's working.
Yeah, certainly particularly brave to do it at this stage in things. When with the Olympics really just round the corner, to introduce a new name at this stage is, well, it's a brave move. We've got to say it is.
It's good stuff, and it's good to see them going for it, and it's great to see Borodyshev rising to the challenge. World champion from a couple of years ago, Facconi has scored 3 in this leg to Borodyshev's 2, and they've just got 40-odd seconds left in the 4th period.
Yeah, Facconi clocks up another with a counter-attack there, but it's and that's fine. I mean, if he can maybe pick up another hit, 2 perhaps, to really close the gap would be great, but he doesn't need to. There's a load of time.
Got a very different style to the rest of the Russians. The attack is something that we see similarly now with the fencers keeping their points well away from the target. But when he's in defence, his arm is quite a long way out and keeps quite he manages to hold a little bit of extra distance.
Yeah, the arm's extended, but the point's actually not really aiming at the target when he's going back in defence. It's sort of pointing somewhere in the low line, kind of mid-thigh on his opponent. But it's enough to give his opponent enough to think about, that they can't just launch themselves in there.
Well, if the job was containment there, he's done a great job. He's gifted or given away a couple of hits to Facconi, but Russia come out of the 4th, still leading by 4. And Borodyshev is still on a positive indicator, meaning he's scored more points than he's given away. Facconi increases his positive indicator to 4, by far the best member of the team for the Italians right now. On comes Avila up against Zerobchenko. You've got to think that the Italians have got to be thinking just another couple of points in this match. The target score of 25 is what they're going after.
Yeah, well, Zerobchenko immediately kind of ruins that plan by picking up the first hit. But yeah, you're right. You don't need to rush. There's plenty of time in the match, plenty of fights still to come, and if you can make a dent of a couple of hits, get things just a little bit closer, then that's great. So don't charge in there. Don't look to go, I can do this all in one leg.
Yeah. Well, the Italians are masters of fencing, both team and individually. This is far from over.
Yeah, I think almost as interesting as Borodicev's run here will be how Zerchenko goes, because as you pointed out, he's been a member of the team for a long time, but doesn't regularly start. And if he can produce a decent performance in this match, that may give the Russian coaching team a bit more confidence in them. They do always seem to have not entirely trusted him to produce the goods in teams.
And, oh, that's a nice hit though. Very sharp off the mark that time. Giorgio Avila replacing his weapon, I think probably more through giving himself a little bit of a mental reset than anything else. But that's an interesting point, Sean, because when I was talking to Ilgar Mammadov earlier on, I asked him about Kirill Borodishev. I asked about whether it's an injury thing. No. And we have others waiting in the wings. Then we've already talked about his brother Anton. There's Milnikov and Trochin. There's a multitude of options for them. So it does put a bit of pressure on Zerchenko. Clearly, it's already paid off for Kirill Borodishev, and Timur Arsenalov, as you've said, been put to one side for now.
Yeah, because I mean, Zerchenko, individual world champion in 2017.
Yes. Bit of a surprise.
Yeah, but he finished gloriously.
Absolutely,
that day.
yeah. But that wasn't expected.
No, absolutely. And as soon as the team event came back round, he was back on the bench. And yeah, it's curious that when he does get an outing, and that's probably actually true in his individual career as well. He won in St. Petersburg in 2016 to get in the team, which was a surprise. He then won the World Championships, but still on the bench. His results, his individual results after he was world champion, were pretty up and down. And then he took bronze at the World Championships in Budapest. I mean, he's one of those fencers that when he gets it right, he's absolutely glorious. But it doesn't happen often enough, probably for his taste, certainly for the taste of the Russian coaches, and it means he's still never quite been able to cement his place in the team.
Okay, so are we close enough now to the Olympic Games that if he puts on a show here, which he seems to be doing, and maybe in his other opportunities, maybe just in the individual results, because he'll certainly be competing in Tokyo, the World Cup in Tokyo in a few weeks' time in the individual, that it would be too much of a risk for the Russian coaching team to bring in another youngster along with Borodishev, or do you think that they're brave enough to make that call?
We'll see. I mean, Borodishev's had a pretty good outing here, and if he does the same in Tokyo, there may well be the temptation to go, well, he's the future of Russian men's foil.
Yes.
More than, well, really anyone of the team, one of the current team.
Yes.
So do you gamble big and go, right, you get an outing in the individual and the team? It's a big call.
It's a massive call. And you know, the good thing is that the Russian coaching staff will keep us guessing through till the end.
I'm sure they will, yeah. But it's, yeah, I mean, they've got a lot of options, but none of them are absolutely cast iron. Cheremisinov and Safin are absolute certainties, but then who's your third man in the individual and who makes up the team? I mean, it is a fascinating sort of subtext. Arsenalov's been trying for most of this Olympic cycle and really hasn't nailed it down.
Yep, and it's a subtext that we're focusing at the moment on this Russian team because Borodishev has been brought in, but it's the same for a lot of the teams. Who is coming? The French have dabbled with their team over the last 12 months. Some teams don't have the luxury of dabbling too much. Great Britain, for example, You know, they've got a young crop of fencers coming through, but at the moment there's a 4 that are fairly solidly going to be in the team positions, and probably 3 that are just on the starting list almost straight away. But there are other teams out there that do have a depth of riches.
But Russia going well here at the moment, certainly. And I mean, they are defending Olympic champions.
Yes.
And they do miss Arthur Akhmatuzyan. There's no doubt about it. That was a team that's not really changed. I mean, take Akhmatuzyan out, and Russia struggled since.
Yeah, it shows that you don't have to be the star player to be the star player in a team event. You often see people outperform their individual rankings in team tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, very much so. Akhmatuzyan is a great example of that. He was he did the sort of third fencer role for Russia, but did it immensely well. He would never ever cough up a run of hits.
Yeah,
and that's just exactly what you want for that role.
Yeah, when it's one-on-one, your job is to get to 15 or outscore your opponent in the time in the match. In a team competition, you could come on in the 4th leg with a healthy lead, and your job is not to let the lead disappear.
Yeah, exactly. It's an unglamorous role, but so important for teams.
Yeah. And it adds to the spectacle as well. And the accumulator system does allow for teams to claw back big deficits. It's looking very, very good for Russia right now, but one good leg, a run of hits from Avila, Garozzo or Facconi could put Italy right back in this at any stage.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, with Zerebchenko, who doesn't, as I said, doesn't regularly get an outing for the Russian team, and Brodyshev is a new face, it'll be a real interesting test when they've got this decent-sized lead. Can these guys hold that, or even stretch it out? I mean, that's what you're looking for from Zerebchenko and Brodyshev to do. I mean, Brodyshev had a great leg against Garozzo, and they've stretched out the lead, but the test now is, can they hold it?
Yeah. Well, 35 seconds left to go as Russia face another weapon change. It's been a feature of the day for the Russian team. I think in the last round they changed no less than 7 weapons during the 9 legs.
You sometimes wonder on the weapon changes, are they genuinely required, or is it, as you put it, a sort of mental break? Because otherwise the Russian armourer is going to be asked some questions.
Well, I think he will be. I can tell you that you've got to think that that there was a number of those changes in the semi-finals that were about resetting things mentally, but there were a number of that were definitely weapon or body wire failures. There was one body wire failure in there as well. So I think maybe the armourer, he might not get his bonus after Bonn. Lovely. Just goes to show, it doesn't really matter what the score is. The quality of these two teams means that you can see some beautiful hits like that from the trailing team.
I mean, yeah, Avila's a beautiful fencer to watch. I really enjoy watching him on the piste. But he has at times been, well, a risk for the Italians, and they've stuck with this starting 3 pretty much throughout this Olympic cycle, with Kisara sitting on the bench for the vast majority of it.
Yeah, that is it. That's almost a completely strange thing to see when you know what kind of record Kisara has. But Avila can turn deficits around big time, can't he?
Yeah, you absolutely can. I mean, he's
An individual against Caddo, that was an interesting start for him. 7-0 down.
yeah, clearly that was nothing to worry about. Just offering a bit of encouragement to his opponent.
He went on to win that. I mean, a priority minute, but he got back to 13 apiece against one of the big names in men's form.
Yeah, I mean, Caddo's won things, and giving him a 7-0 lead is it's not what you want to do at all. It was it was a ridiculous fight, really, and Avila managed to dig himself out of it.
Well, he seems to be doing the same trick here. He's now scored 7 hits in this leg to Zerebchenko's 6, when Zerebchenko looked like he was running away with it, and the gap is down to 3, just closed up by 1. Well, as we said, that's the job for the Italians in each leg, just close the gap.
Yeah, it's an unconventional way to do it. Let Russia stretch out the lead and Zerebchenko look like he's totally in control of things, but with 3 seconds left, the net result is an Italian gain of 1 hit.
And space on the scoreboard as well as the clock. Will they go after this again? Oh, Avila does. Avila does. And, well, at that speed, he could get at least another one.
Yeah, there is time. This is the kind of thing with that I was talking about with Zerebchenko, is that when it's all working, it looks fantastic. But there is a hint of unreliability about him, and this is the sort of thing that will make Mammadov twitch about including him as a starter in the team more regularly. -4 indicator for Zerebchenko, so it would appear that all right, and that Zerebchenko, he's at risk, as is Avila. Is a risk for those teams. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that leg could have turned out very, very differently. Zerebchenko got off to a flyer, stretched the lead out. If he could have kept things together, that would have been a very big lead to take into the 6th leg. It's it's up and down stuff from both of them, and I think that's the Italians are persevering with Avila as a starter. Zerebchenko may have done himself no favours there.
Yeah, so some opportunities in both teams for perhaps the younger fencers to have a sniff, knock on the door of the head coach. I think I might be locking my door in the hotel tonight, because I know that the Italians and the Russians watch the live stream afterwards, and they regularly come and pass the comment. Fortunately, usually quite nice, but the Italians are staying on the same floor as me in the hotel. Giorgio Avila, I think you're really good. It's Sean that's slagging you off.
Not at all. I'm a fan, and it's a reflection of the strength of the Russian team that somebody like Andrei Kasara, with all the things that he's won, is sitting on the bench.
Yeah. It's the top of the game in some of these big nations, including the USA and China now, is quite phenomenal. And you see a crop of athletes coming through in countries like Korea and now Hong Kong as well. It's nice to have the problem, but it also keeps your opponents on your toes. You don't know who's going to be competing against you. And I refer back to this young Chinese fencer, Su, who, look, we've got used to Chinese fencers turning up at fencing competitions, and we've never seen them before, and doing pretty darn well. But it's always still really nice, and it's a nice surprise to see Su. I think he's very, very young as well, coming to this competition doing really well.
Yeah, another one to keep an eye on was the young Japanese fencer that Marcus Mepstead put in the last 64. I think he's only 15 or 16 or something now.
Yeah.
And while Mepstead did dispose of him in the 64, to make that stage at such a young age is genuinely exciting.
Yeah, he was a very relaxed young man. No pressure, I suppose, on him, but still very good I'm reluctant to say his name because it's not a Japanese name I've come across before. But
It's Imura.
I think it's Iimura.
Oh, you get pronounced both, yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't rely on my Japanese pronunciation.
Konnichiwa. You better get practicing because that's coming around the corner fairly soon.
So we're down to a couple of hits in it. And for all the talk of exciting young fencers, two very familiar faces on for the sixth leg.
Yeah, Olympic gold medalist in Dani Garazzo for Italy on the left, and Timur Safin, the bronze medalist from Rio 2016.
And this is a leg involving two fencers thoroughly secure in their position in the team, and probably both looking to make a bit of an impact in this leg, I would think.
You'd certainly think so, yeah.
And yeah, two contrasting fencers. The athleticism and the simplicity of Safin's fencing against the feel and timing of Garazzo.
Is there room to like both styles?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I love watching both of them.
It's interesting, isn't it, that you see that there is a very methodical approach to some of the coaching styles around the world, whereas other teams, both Italy and Russia are examples where you see different styles. Kirill Borodyshev is a completely different fencer in terms of style to Safin. Alessio Facconi, I think, is almost unique in his style and doesn't sort of match up with some of the traditional Italian fencers that we've seen over the years. All have similar components, of course.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting the variety of styles that you get in these between the two teams, but also within them as well. It's a proper mixture of offences that you have here. And it does make it exciting to watch. I mean, all six of the starters here have got different things, different strengths, and that sort of variety is something that I enjoy seeing with these two teams.
As I say, variety is the spice of life, and that is what we've certainly got here in this match. And there really is nothing between them now, where the lead was up to 6 points at one point for Russia. They are now leading just by a single point, and this is for bragging rights between the two European teams. And of course, the winner will be on the podium on the third step, picking up a bronze later on today at the start of the season.
Yeah, Garazzo's attack. Oh, I think another Russian weapon change.
That's only 2. The average is going down for them in this bronze medal match.
Still time. There's no need for them to change their weapons earlier on in the match when they had a comfortable lead. But now that we're all square, I think we might see more.
It's a solid point you're making, Mr. Walton. A solid point.
Yeah, that Garazzo attack when it's fluent and working like that is, I think, one of my favourite things in fencing. Yeah, that slow advance and hits that critical distance, and the speed of that delivery in the final action is, yeah, it's a thing of beauty. And Safin has now got to find a way to stop it working, to break it up. Because we've seen the lead switch in this leg, and what was a two-hit Russian lead is now a two-hit Italian one.
So between them, Avila and Garozzo have switched things around for the Italian team. Timur Safin had a bit of a shocker in the semi-final. In fact, he had a bit of a shocker in the quarter-final as well. He's struggling here as well. The pressure maybe even on Timur Safin. So he turns it into a bit of a scrap. Close quarters, gets back to within one. Still a minute to go in this fight, but the target score is now looking achievable. 30 points will see one of these teams through into the 7th leg.
Simultaneous action, both fences shouting for it. Nothing doing it. Back in guard.
So now it's the Italian box that are encouraging Danny Garozzo to call for a video.
Yeah, a lot of noise from the box, but Garozzo, a bit of pleading, but not actually calling for the video review.
Beautiful timing there from Timur Safin on the counter. I mean, would you, here's an interesting question, would you call that a counter or an attack into preparation?
For me, that's a counter.
Yeah, me too.
There's enough forward movement and threat from Garozzo there for it to be an attack.
Yeah, had he landed it, he would have scored the hit.
Yep, undoubtedly. I did speak a little about this yesterday and about the sort of development of Garozzo's attack. It used to be so slow, but it has been forced, I think, by changing the refereeing to become just a little bit faster and a little bit more threatening, because he was getting that cold as a preparation.
Yeah.
At the start of this Olympic cycle, and he has had to change it just a little bit.
Beautiful. Really nice, fast, sharp hand from Timur Safin again, and Russia have the lead again. Oh, what a finish as well.
Yeah, a couple of, well, strong finish to that leg from Safin. He looked like he was letting things get away from him a little bit. A two-hit lead had turned into a two-hit deficit, but he manages to claw it back and finishes up maintaining that two-hit advantage for Russia.
Yeah, so 7 apiece in that leg. Danny Garozzo on a -6 indicator, meaning that he has given away 7 more hits than he's scored. And on comes Giorgio Avola for Italy, and he's given away 2 hits in his 2 fights so far. The final leg of the bronze medal match here in Bonn, and it's the youngster and team debutant Kirill Borodyshev of Russia who gets us off the mark. He is full of confidence, Sean.
Yeah, he will be, and rightly so. He's produced a really strong performance in the 2 legs that he's fenced so far. Picked up another hit at the start of this one, and he has pretty much been the star of the Russian team.
Right up there, that's for sure.
And there's another glorious riposte. A little bit scrappy there. And Avola takes a bit of a whack across the back of the hand as Borodishev's trying to take the parry.
You mentioned youthful exuberance, Sean, but look, this is balanced. This is composed, mature, way beyond his years, Borodyshev.
Yeah, exuberance, probably not the right word for Borodyshev. Efficiency and composure, though, are probably the 2 words I would use to describe him. It's a really mature performance for someone coming into the team for the first time.
Against the very best in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's as I said before, the Italian team is a team of superstars, and for Borodyshev to produce this kind of performance across the 3 legs is so mature. It's amazing, really.
I really am starting to believe, possibly too early by your judgment, that this I was about to say kid, this young man could be someone that we are talking about for years to come. I know it's early doors, and I know we've been talking about him being given a chance in the team. I'd say the performance today, as a one-off, would mean that he's booked his place on the team, not on the bench, but in the starting lineup for the next competition.
Yeah, I would say so. He's certainly going to get more outings than this from the performance that he's produced today. Not just in this match, but he put in a pretty strong performance against the world #1 team USA in the semi-final, and yeah, I look forward to seeing how he goes in Tokyo, and I suspect Paris, and quite possibly beyond that as well.
Tokyo again, yeah. We'll see. We will see. Well, they are having another review here. We had some technical issues at the beginning of the competition, beginning of this final session. I wonder if we can get a look at the replay, if they're looking at it again, of course. Well, here it is. Well, we know that we can get there. We didn't get there in time this time. Borodyshev 2 away from the target score here for Russia. Final action given for Borodyshev. Sean, I don't want to get too overly technical here, but Borodyshev's transition from the low line parries, which he switches between octave and septime, back up into the high line is rapid.
Yeah, I mean, looking at Borodicev's technique, he's not a big guy. He's not incredibly rapid, but his hand speed is absolutely fantastic. And in that 7th leg, he's taken a 2-hit lead and turned it into a 7-hit lead, and really, well, blown Avila away. That's an incredible performance, because you're looking at theoretically the third fencer of the team, the new guy, and he has. I mean, that's an incredible performance. I mean, you might expect a match-up Avila against him to be relatively evenly matched, and perhaps hoping, if you're a Russian, to hold that lead.
Yeah.
But that's a fantastic performance.
Yeah, really, really good. Star player for Russia so far, finishing on a +9, Kirill Borodishev. On for Russia now, Timur Safin coming into the fight with a +2 indicator. So he's in the positives, but so is Facconi, the best fencer for the Italian team in this match so far, on a +4 indicator coming into this, and he needs to do a big job against Timur Safin.
Yeah, it's interesting that at the moment we have our last match looking at being Zerebchenko against Garozzo. So I think the Italians would feel that they can make up this deficit either in this leg with world number 1 Facconi, but Garozzo Zerebchenko is another one that Italy will feel that they can make up any sort of reasonable deficit.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, and I think that does give Facconi a bit of space as well, because he won't be asked to, really kill the deficit. Just try and claw back 2, maybe 3 points, and give Garozzo a run at Zerebchenko. But
yeah, give him a chance. Give him a chance. But it's a lead that's actually stretching with that hit rather than diminishing.
Yeah. So, and there's another one for Timur Safin, and this is what we saw before earlier. When they sniff getting close to the line, you sometimes see the intensity go up, and that's worked for them at least once today, and it went against them in the quarterfinals. They did obviously come through that quarterfinal match, but it'll be interesting to see whether Safin says, look, I need to hand over a bigger lead to Zerebchenko than the one we've got right now.
Well, the bigger lead's always nice, but
I mean, within mind what you were just saying, that you'd fancy Garozzo to close down even a 5+ point deficit.
Yeah, I mean that's a little hard on Dmitry Zerebchenko, but Garozzo would probably fancy his chances of being able to do it. Yeah. He wouldn't want to have to do it. No,
I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is Dmitry Zerebchenko can go into the fight a little bit more comfortable with a bigger lead, and doesn't need to feel the pressure, and can therefore just fence. Do you know what I mean? Rather than have to sort of strategize. Yeah.
Well, certainly his teammates doing his best for him.
Russia led by 7 coming into this. The lead is still 7 points. Safin having a little think about calling a video there, but...
Yeah, I thought he might, but decides against it.
Beautiful.
Yeah. It's good work from Safin, really getting his act together after a weaker leg earlier.
And it does tend today to have been really good in the simple stuff in close quarters. I mean, that's not even close quarters. Get within lunging range, and if you don't do something, Safin is going to come after you. And that 7-point lead is extended to 8 points. Dmitry Zerebchenko coming on to anchor Russia against the reigning Olympic champion, Dani Gorotso.
Yeah, fine performance from the Russians, I've got to say, with really Zerebchenko and Brodichev, unfamiliar starters for Russia, largely producing the goods so far. Brodichev in particular. And,
yeah, just as you say that, guess who's come on?
Yeah. We'll go back to something more familiar to finish with Alexei Cheremisinov coming on.
And showing his intent right from the start. Early start from Alexei Cheremisinov. So the Russians have made their substitution. Perhaps further indication on a -4 indicator after 2 fights. Dmitry Zerebchenko has been benched by the Russians. And I wonder if he is scratching his head now and wondering whether he's going to get a chance in Tokyo at the next World Cup.
Well, it's interesting. We can maybe talk about this at the end of the match, about how Russia might treat this for the next event. Because I think Brodichev has done a great job. Zerebchenko, well,
if they win this, they build their lead over Italy in terms of Olympic qualification. Might well be enough to be able to take a little bit of a risk and add another one of the junior team in.
Yeah, or do you give Arslanov another run?
Well, it's hard to say, isn't it? I would wager that if the Russian coaching staff have elected to put Arslanov to one side for now, that they'd be more inclined to test out one of the younger ones again. And Borodishev has done enough, I'd say, to be in the starting lineup for their team.
Well, certainly today's performance, and particularly in this match, yeah, he's done everything that could possibly have been wanted from him, and possibly, well, almost certainly a bit more.
Cheremisinov is capitalising on Borodishev's great performance, +9 indicator for the youngster. Cheremisinov comes on to finish the job off for the Russian team and is playing a blinder. He's scored 2 to Gorotso's 1, and Gorotso needs to up his intensity, but is Cheremisinov giving him the room? And now we may see again the assistant referees coming out. Cheremisinov's been called a couple of times today for ducking his head illegally, basically tilting his forehead over his chin. That's not allowed because it starts to obstruct the valid target area. Preparation from Cheremisinov, and it looks like we may have another weapon replacement.
I did tell you there'd be more to come.
You did indeed. The Bonn bonus is definitely not going to be going to the armourer from the Russian Federation. And Cheremisinov buying himself a little bit of time here as well. I've got to say, he did seem to be puffing quite hard after the semi-finals. So I wonder if he's partly been benched for those reasons. But he's back on for this anchor leg, showing the faith that Ilgar Mammadov has in Alexei Cheremisinov. 3 away from bronze here in Bonn.
Yeah, I mean, Cheremisinov has been the Russian closer really for so long that I can hardly even remember who did the job before him. And well, he came in with an 8-hit lead as a result of his young teammates' good work. And you would expect that he would get it done, but Garozzo, after a bit of a slow start in this match, in this fight, has closed it to a mere 6-hit lead and a lot of time left.
Going to look at the video on this one for ducking of the head. Jeremy Sinoff on the right. We're about to see what the referee sees. That does to me look like it's definitely going down. I think that is a card, I've got to say. Sean?
There's a twitch, but I'm not sure that he actually covers.
No, I think on that second action there, he does. What does Florian Jorge say? I think he's going with you, Sean. I think he is going with you. He's explaining to Garozzo. No, he is going to give a card. So a yellow card for obscuring the valid target area with your mask. You're not sure, are you?
I'm still not totally convinced, I must say.
So the tension has just, well, the temperature's gone up a notch there. I think Garozzo is thinking you need to call for another card here. And he gets the hit.
Yeah, the attack's good.
But technically he could be given another card here. And
yeah,
it could
absolutely.
be another point for Italy. Let's see, are they going to go to the video this time? There's no assistant referees or assessors as they used to be known. I think they're coming out right now. I think they have been called from the bleachers. Pascal Mage coming across the field of play. He will go and stand at the Italian end of the piste. And I think that's Wang Bo of China going to the other end of the piste. So Wang Bo will be keeping an eye on Garozzo. Pascal Mage keeping an eye on Cheremisinov. Will this be enough to distract Cheremisinov from the job in hand?
Well, Garozzo's undoubtedly on a roll, and the second card for covering for Cheremisinov is going to be a distraction and something that's going to play in his mind.
Got to focus on the job in hand. He's got to keep moving on his feet, keep active. I think he's got to try and avoid anything in close quarters where he's at risk.
Yeah, certainly Garozzo's on a roll here, and
so
but well, Cheremisinov's been here before. He's been Cardiff for covering, I'm sure, a few times in the past, but he knows his job. He knows his job is to finish things off. I mean, that's what he's there for.
Yeah, beautiful stop hit block. Oh, lovely stuff. Attack on prep.
Yep, picks this moment, one light, keeps the head up, no doubt.
Great stuff from Alexei Cheremisinov, having got a card, having seen assessors come out, mainly to keep an eye on him. He's within one of the bronze medal for Russia here in Bonn. Garozzo's not out of this, and it looks like the Italians are going to call for another video here. And Florian Jorge, the Romanian referee, saying, I called halt because of the distance between the two fencers. Don't blow your video on this. Just one per leg per athlete.
Yeah, I mean, Florian's probably the best fall referee in the world, in my opinion, and certainly I would say has the best relationship with the teams and with the fencers. So if he says, don't waste your time calling for the video review here.
Oh, Russia!
But glorious work, yeah.
Beautiful final couple of hits from Alexei Cheremisinov, and bragging rights on this occasion go to Russia. They've picked up the bronze medal here at the 2019 Bonn World Cup. Oh, Sean, what a match. What a match.
It was, I mean, it's tremendous. Had a bit of everything, really. The emergence of potentially a young star in the making in Kirill Borodichev.